Hey kids! We have been talking recently about a man named Abram. God made a covenant with Abram, and everything God promised to Abram came true. God gave Abram a son and many more descendants. But he also gave Abram something else, a new name. From here on out, we will call him Abraham. I'm sure you've heard of him. Did you know that Abram and Abraham were the same person in the Bible? Well, let's find out about some of Abraham's many descendants as we learn our Bible story from Exodus chapter 19, verse 1 through chapter 20, verse 8. After some time passed, Abraham's family, the Israelites, moved to Egypt, where they grew and grew and grew. There were so many Israelite families in Egypt that the leader of Egypt, called Pharaoh, became scared that they would turn against him. Pharaoh came up with a terrible plan. He made the Israelites slaves to the Egyptians. They treated them horribly and forced them to work super hard. God never left the Israelites, and he raised up a leader to help free his people from slavery. His name was Moses. After God sent a bunch of terrible plagues onto the Egyptians, Pharaoh told Moses to take the Israelites and get out of Egypt. Unfortunately, Pharaoh changed his mind. He sent his army to get the Israelites and bring them back. Just when Pharaoh's army was about to catch them, God divided the waters of the Red Sea, and the Israelites went straight through on dry ground. But when the Egyptians followed the Israelites into the Red Sea, the water crashed down on top of them, and they all drowned. On the other side of the Red Sea, the Israelites began wandering in the desert in search of a new home. After 3 months, God called Moses to meet him on top of a mountain called Mount Sinai. When Moses got to the top of the mountain, God made a covenant with him. A covenant is a promise or agreement. God promised that if the Israelites obeyed his commandments completely, he would make them a special treasure to the whole world. Next, God gave them the commandments he would want them to follow. God had Moses tell the Israelites to wash themselves and get ready for him to give them these commandments from Mount Sinai. God warns them that no one other than Moses was to step foot on Mount Sinai. 3 days later, a thick cloud covered Mount Sinai. Intense thunder and lightning came from the cloud, and the entire mountain shook. The Israelites stood below and trembled with fear, but they didn't dare step foot on the mountain. Suddenly, the voice of God came booming from the cloud for all the people to hear. God started giving the first commandments.
Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
These were just 4 of the 10 commandments that God gave the Israelites. God gave Moses and the Israelites the 10 commandments, instructions for helping us to live the way God wants us to. We heard about the first 4. The first command was to put God first. This means that God is the only God, and we should put him before anything else in our lives. Second was to worship God only. This means we shouldn't worship people we look up to or pray to statues that are made to represent God. God is the ultimate, the creator of all things, so we should worship and pray to only Him. Third was to use God's name respectfully. This means we should be careful how we use God's name. We shouldn't say God's name like a curse word or yell it in anger. Fourth, remember God's day of rest. This means we should spend one day of the week resting and thinking about God. The first 4 commandments teach us how to love God. When we follow these commandments, it helps us to love God with everything we have. It helps us to love Him with all of our heart, soul, and strength. That's also what our Bible verse teaches us. Luke 10:27. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. Luke 10:27. This verse shows us what it's like to follow God's first 4 commands. Following these commandments is a way for us to show God that we love Him with all of our heart, soul, and strength. But it's not easy to do. In fact, our sin makes this difficult for us. But with God's help, we can grow in our love for Him every single day.